When darkness falls and forgotten stories awaken. When every whisper sounds like a warning. You know. You've opened a file that was never meant to be found. Welcome to Dark Archive. Where every secret is written in fear. Distracted by a notification on my phone, I forgot to lock the front door. I just slammed it shut. Such a simple thing, 2 turns of the latch to the left, and I completely let it slip my mind. That same night, it all began. I woke up in the pitch-black darkness, vaguely aware of what had roused me. It seemed like the front door had slammed. No, just a dream, I thought. It couldn't be. I always locked the door. I was almost asleep again. But a tiny, nagging thought on the edge of my drowsy mind started pulsing. Growing, until it finally yanked me out of my stupor. I forgot to turn the latch, I forgot to turn the latch, I forgot to turn it. I got up immediately and went to the hallway, to the closed door I was desperately trying to convince myself was secure. I pressed the handle, and the door swung open into the empty, dark void of the stairwell. I really had forgotten. I live alone in an old Soviet-era building, in a 2-room apartment. Beyond the door is the landing, stairs down, stairs up, a woven mat in front of the door that I always keep neat and clean, and now it was lying about a meter away, thoroughly trampled. I nudged the mat closer with my bare foot and thought I'd clean it tomorrow, when suddenly a cold rod of fear shot through my spine. Wild terror, triggered by the random thought of the sound that had woken me. The slam of the front door. Someone had opened the door and slammed it shut. Maybe someone had even come inside and was standing somewhere behind me, ready to stab me in the back. My hands shook, but I managed to flick the light switch with wooden fingers and spun around on my heels, slamming the door shut and frantically turning the latch. In the little hallway, there was no one but me and my reflection in the mirror. No one in the bedroom. No one in the other room, the kitchen, the bathroom, the toilet. No one in any closet, under the table, under the bed, in the dresser drawers. I calmed down a bit. Decided my subconscious had reminded me about the unlocked door with a dreamed-up slam. I climbed back into bed and fell asleep. In the morning, I barely remembered the nighttime incident, rushing to get ready for work, eating breakfast and dressing at the same time. Everything seemed fine, except for a sour residue buried deep under the swarm of thoughts about the day ahead. And the apartment smelled unpleasant somehow. When it was time, I left for work, yanking the door locked with 2 turns of the key. Back from work, having completely forgotten the night before, I inserted the key into the lock and turned it. Once, because the second turn wouldn't catch. The door was only locked on 1 turn. I stood there, staring at the shifted mat and automatically straightening it with my shoe toe. I was afraid to enter my own apartment, someone was surely inside. Slowly pressing the handle, I opened the door and stepped in. I stood in the hallway, closing the door behind me and listening. The apartment was quiet, just the monotonous hum of the fridge. I thoroughly searched every room. No one. Strange dirty streaks on the floor, like someone had walked around in filthy shoes. Something I never allow myself. My bed was rumpled. Though I'd made it meticulously that morning, as I always do. The bedding was smeared with something oily and stank horribly. I stripped it off immediately and carried it to the bathroom, intending to toss it in the washer. The bathtub bottom was covered in dirt and hair. Long, thick, dark hair. I nearly vomited. I threw the bedding in the washer and went to the kitchen. It was full of signs of someone's presence too. Half a loaf of bread was squashed, decorated, on all sides with dirty fingerprints. My favorite mug had murky brown dregs floating in it, and its handle was chipped off entirely. The table and stools were covered in disgusting streaks of unknown origin, and the sink was coated in a thick layer of reddish grease. The kitchen smelled like something deeply disturbing. Like someone had burned hair or feathers for 3 hours straight, dousing them in pork fat. I felt nauseous. I ran to the toilet, and what I saw there made me throw up immediately. The toilet was full of the same hair from the bathtub bottom, plus dried up chunks of something revolting, like skin or worse. It heaved out of me for several minutes. I was sweating. Starting the cleanup, which took me until night, I discovered all the windows were shut tight. I couldn't sleep, of course. I lay awake half the night, listening. Hearing nothing, I got up, dressed, and sat at my laptop. Needless to say, the next day at work, I messed up everything. The whole next day, I just kept screwing up at work. Suffering from lack of sleep and shuddering at the thought of what awaited me at home. Maybe not go home. Crash at Victor's. Nah, too awkward. Even funny to explain the reason, they'd think I'd lost my mind. I'll get home, I convinced myself, and everything will be normal, clean and orderly, it'll be fine. I drowned in self-deception and almost believed I'd just been overworked, imagining things. But near the building, I suddenly got nervous. For good reason. The mat was gone entirely. The key went into the lock with an unpleasant grind, like sand or sugar in the mechanism. The door opened with difficulty, it was warped somehow. Trembling with horror, I entered the apartment and froze. The stench was so bad my eyes watered. All windows sealed shut again, walls smeared with nauseating filth, wallpaper torn in places, the bed deeply sagged as if someone had jumped on it for hours in dirty shoes. The bedding twisted into a grotesque, greasy ball. The pillow looked like someone had violently vomited into it after being torn apart. I don't even want to describe the kitchen, bathroom, and toilet. Everywhere, that vile yellow grease and hair. My laptop lay on the floor, stomped to pieces. A knife stuck out of the TV, its handle coated in grease. I rushed to the phone to call the police, but the receiver was shattered, wires gnawed through. As luck would have it, my cell battery had died minutes ago. I started searching for the charger and found it under the table. Right, with the cord torn out. And then I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. A horrific sound started building. At first, I thought it was a cat's yowl, but then I realized what it resembled more. Exactly how my mother's friend howled when she forgot her pills. Drawn out, with strange clicking sounds from the throat. Unclear if it was crying or laughter stretched over time. The howl grew louder and louder, and on the edge of my mind, noting the warmth on my thighs from urine streaming down, I backed rapidly toward the apartment exit. I bolted onto the landing and slammed the door. The howl quieted, but not much. Something slammed into the door from inside with terrifying force. Once, twice, 3 times. With shaking hands, I somehow jammed the key in, locked it with 2 turns, and raced down the stairs without looking back. Only outside did I escape the nightmarish sound. Victor, my best friend since kindergarten, let me in without questions. Just glanced puzzled at my pants and smiled mysteriously when I asked for clean clothes to change. I was shaking. I wanted to tell him everything but couldn't string 2 words together. Victor's wife, Olivia, fed me what was surely a tasty dinner. But I didn't taste it as I swallowed. No flavor. Just mechanically shoveling food in, trying not to think at all. Toward night, I relaxed a bit after a couple beers. The apartment smelled cozy, warm, and I fell asleep instantly on my usual guest couch. What woke me early morning was Victor's surprised voice. Victor seemed to be talking to his wife. At first, I couldn't make out words, but listening, I froze. My hands grabbed the scattered clothes toward me. I had no idea where I'd sleep. Maybe stay at work, even on the street. Didn't want that, winter, cold. I didn't know what to do or where to go. Definitely not the cops. Because you know what Victor said to his wife. Olivia, okay, dirty sink, whatever. But what the hell is this greasy hair mess in the tub? I bolted from Victor and Olivia's apartment like a maniac. Didn't even think to talk to my friend and his wife. And on the way out, noted with annoyance that Victor hadn't locked the door. I was scared. But anger at Victor stirred too. Though I knew perfectly well he wasn't to blame for what was happening to me. My own fault, lazy to lock the door. Let him suffer now. A wave of angry thoughts briefly overrode the fear. What if this filth is following me and doesn't leave Victor's? If I don't go back, what if it trails me everywhere? I need to call him. Tomorrow. For sure. If everything's okay at his place, then yeah, I'm doomed. But if not, if his apartment turns into the same nightmarish dump mine became, what then? I didn't have time to think because I got to work and immediately got pulled in. Vera from accounting ran into me at the door and started yelling, waving papers under my nose. Honestly, I didn't grasp what she wanted at first. I used to fear her, avoid her, but now I was almost glad for this plump, overly healthy harpy. Better her for the rest of my life than whatever was in my apartment and my life. She made me do some invoices. I even smiled. Which confused the accounting Valkyrie a bit. I think it was the first time she'd seen me smile in all our years working together. Grabbing the invoices, I rushed to my desk. Work. Not think. Fully occupy my head with this crap I get paid for. The day flew by unnoticed. I looked up from my desk and saw it was pretty dark outside, and I was almost alone in the office. In the far corner, Mary was touching up her lipstick, comically tilting her head. I was about to crack a joke, my mood was good. But suddenly remembered I hadn't eaten or drunk anything all day. Mary stood up, grabbed her purse, and strolled to the exit, regally somehow. Casually flipped off all the lights in the office. As if no one else was there. I jumped up, knocked the stapler with my left hand. It rolled across the desk, hit my mug on the way, and finally crashed to the floor with a racket. Mary, unfazed, turned the light back on. Are you staying? She asked the question without turning her head toward me. As if I carried some special plague that spread through eye contact. Could she sense something? I shuddered. Yeah, I'll work a bit more. I was about to sit back down but stood up again. Tell the coat check lady she can lock up, I'm crashing here. It's not allowed, technically. Mary kept staring in my direction. Her new way of talking was starting to piss me off. She never used to act like this, used to look me straight in the eye with open contempt, but at least she looked. I'll talk to Paul tomorrow. Viktorovic. Tell him everything. I said it, then realized she was waiting for me to beg. Bitch. Please. Don't use the overhead lights. Turn on the desk lamp. And don't plug in the kettle, it guzzles power. Mary clicked her nail against the switch a few times. The sound turned my mouth bitter and twisted my gut. I'd heard that click very recently. At home. I'll tell the coat check lady. Mary left without closing the office door behind her. See you tomorrow, I shouted after her, but got no reply. As soon as her heels faded on the stairs, I lunged at the door in sudden rage. Slammed it harder than necessary, the echo boomed down the corridor. In near total darkness, I walked to my desk. Dull light from distant street lamps on the avenue leaked through the windows, more hindrance than help. My foot caught the stapler, it scraped across the floor with a nasty sound and stopped. I froze too. The building was dead quiet. Aunt Sasha, the coat check lady, was probably locking up her domain, quietly cursing my lone jacket on the rack. Most likely no one else in the whole building, just me and the guard at the gate. Right, the guard, if anything, I could go to him. The thought gave me childish hope for protection. Does he have a gun? I wondered, switching on the desk lamp and grabbing the electric kettle from the common table. He must, I reassured myself. Might as well empty my bladder while I'm at it. I hadn't gone all day. It hit me then. That's where the pressure in my lower gut came from. I desperately needed to pee. No lights in the hallway. Only a feeble glow at the far end window. The moon. The toilets were left, the only exit right. Past whatever lay there. Second floor, high ceilings. Jumping 10 meters. No way. And bars on the windows. I took a deep breath. Whatever lay ahead stayed still. Someone dropped a jacket and left it. Doubtful. Then what? Something very black and vaguely human-shaped. I inched forward, slow as possible, trying not to make a sound. Stupid, considering the racket I just made. I'd almost convinced myself it was someone's forgotten work overalls. Thrown down in a rush and abandoned. When suddenly, the overalls raised its head. With a sound like creaking and groaning at once. I nearly choked, freezing in place. Tension throbbed in my temples, like they'd burst. I tried to swallow, but my mouth was bitter and bone-dry. No saliva at all. I stood staring, unable to process what I saw. At first it looked human. Hair not too long, hanging at the sides of the head, if that was a head. Then it seemed like a dog. Big black dog, those weren't hair but ears. Then back to just filthy, stiffened overalls. If not for the head lifting slightly off the floor. The moment I stepped back, the head kept rising with the same sickening creak groan. Another step, higher. Now vertical to the body on the floor. But it kept moving. Bent back in a way no person or dog could. Overalls don't have heads. I broke. Bolted for the office, nearly dropping the kettle. Slammed the door and turned the latch twice. Stepped away, then checked again. Locked. Set the kettle on the desk. Hands shaking. Realized I was about to piss myself. The idiotic idea of using the kettle I rejected with outrage. Big ficus pot on the windowsill, that'd do. I watered it long. Thought the creak groan in the hall had stopped. But the second my stream trickled out, I heard it again. Whining with frustration, I stared at the windows. Damn bars. Dying for a drink. Barricading the door with the couch, I started crying from terror and exhaustion. Bitch. I screamed at the door. Get out, bitch. Then fell silent, scared of my own voice. The creak groan vanished. Less than 5 seconds later, a new sound, equally vile. Something running in the corridor, claws clicking on concrete. Running everywhere at once. Maybe scream as loud as possible so the guard hears. What if he doesn't? Call the gate. The thought hit my barely functioning brain. I lunged for the phone. Grabbed the receiver, it slipped from my palm and flew into the wall. Cracked with a snap. Only the desk lamp worked. Even in its light, I saw grease on my palm. And hair. I ran to the switch. Flipped it. Wish I hadn't. Everything was smeared with something brown, like squashed liver. And hair everywhere. That word from Victor this morning, greasy hair mess, fit perfectly, the filth coating everything, even the tissues I grabbed to wipe my hand. A chunk of pale, skin-like gunk dangled from my desk lamp, then plopped onto an invoice. Right then, something started knocking on the door. A blinding stench exploded. The knocking painted a picture in my head, a dog's head with pecked-out eyes hanging from a filthy rope, banging the door with a half-protruding thong. I shrieked and jumped back from the door. To a window. Climbed onto the sill with my feet. Patted my pants for the phone. Call cops, emergency, ambulance, anyone. Get me out, to a psych ward, anything to end this. No phone. Right, Victor's pants. Phone at his place. Landline smashed. Scream or climb the window, but bars. Knocking turned to scratching. Very, very nasty scratching. I stood full height on the high sill and grabbed the handle. The old frame groaned, resisting. Glass rattled, but the right pane finally swung open. I looked out past the bars. Dark and freezing. Street lamps on the avenue were out. When I turned to glance at the door, something huge and shapeless dropped from the ceiling with a deafening, squelching splat. The same instant, every light died, even the desk lamp. I forbade myself to think. Threw my whole body against the bars and tumbled out the window with them. Anyone sitting by my hospital bed, just to have peace for a while. But no choice. When consciousness returned, I was staggering knee-deep in snow, fingers frozen stiff around the damn bars. I was dragging them with me. With colossal effort, using my knee, I pried the fingers of my right hand loose, then used the right to peel the left ones free. My fingers refused to obey. My hands looked like bluish claws. I tried warming them with my breath, stuffing them under my sweater. It barely helped. My left eye saw nothing. On autopilot, I reached to touch it. Bad idea. Felt like poking frozen fish straight into a raw nerve. The pain made me squeal and nearly black out again. But I held on. Stood swaying, retched stomach acid and blood onto the snow, then kept walking. Where? Didn't know, didn't try to. Anywhere, just farther from the filth chasing me. Not far from the office was a park. I trudged past trees looming in the night, kicking up snow, until I stumbled on a little house with smoke curling from the chimney. A TV flickered cozily in the window. Some old man with long gray mustache sat at the table, apparently sipping hot tea. Maybe even with candies. Two forces boiled inside me. One screamed to keep moving, fast, before anyone noticed. The other begged to open the gate, ignore the yapping dog, march to the porch, knock, beg for help, even on my knees. The dog was indeed losing it. Good thing it's chained, I thought, creaking the gate. The second force won. It had an ironclad argument. Just tell the old man to lock the door right away. Simple. He must have heard the barking. He jumped up, started for the door, then went back to the table. Gulped tea from a giant mug with purple flowers and shuffled quickly out of sight. I didn't get to knock. The door flew open, a bare bulb on a wire blasted light in my face. I stood with one hand raised like holding an invisible rail, swaying. The old man flinched at first, but then rushed forward and caught me around the waist with dry, wiry arms as I tipped right and nearly cracked my temple on the jamb. Inside felt like an African furnace. My hands burned without visible flame. My face blazed, especially the left side. He started asking who'd painted me up like that. I tried to shout but only croaked. Lock the door. He must have heard something else. He went out, brought the dog in. It now wagged silently at me but wouldn't come close. Locked the door. I watched the massive barn-style bolt slide home. Then he opened an old wardrobe, reached inside, and pulled out a respectable-sized shotgun. I relaxed a little. This guy, old or not, was doing everything right. Got a phone? I rasped. Yes, of course. He darted off and handed me a shiny cordless handset. I eyed it warily but took it. He grinned crookedly. Grandson gave it to me. He's good. Not sure if he meant the grandson or the phone. Didn't care right then. I dialed Victor. Sleepy, slightly surprised voice. Relief flooded me. Victor was fine, he was sleeping. Victor? I yelled into the receiver. Who's this? He didn't recognize me. No wonder. My voice, face, thoughts, nothing like before. Absolutely not. Victor, it's Max. Listen. Max? He drew my name out, puzzled. You sick or something? Kinda. I've got a favor. Hang on, here's the thing. I don't have your work number, and you left your cell here. It's been ringing off the hook since morning. Can we talk about that later, please? I whined, but Victor cut me off. No, wait. This is important. Really important. He paused. Your mother called. Why? I rasped, staring in surprise at the old man. He stood opposite, cradling the shotgun, scrutinizing my face. Your sister died. Sorry to drop that on you in the middle of the night. Victor fell silent. Sorry to drop that on you in the middle of the night. He went quiet. Where are you calling from? To be totally honest, she showed up again and crashed with me. Things blew up with whatever number husband she had this time. He booted her, then I did, couldn't live with her. Every time I swore I'd tough it out, being the adult. Every time I cracked like a pimply kid. Yelled till my face was red, hurled her stuff at her. Spat fury, but never hit. We'd both had enough yanked hair and broken fingers as kids. No tanks now. Back in the hospital, I asked Victor if Mom mentioned cause of death. He didn't answer. With exaggerated care, he stuffed me into the back seat of his Opel, avoiding my eyes. Yeah, suicide. As expected. The old man refused payment for help and insisted on coming, shotgun in hand. But Victor talked him out of it. Long ride or short, I don't know. I passed out, sliding sideways on the seat. Woke only when they were neatly stitching my mangled eyebrow. Morning brought the news. Besides the split brow, concussion and minor scrapes. Discharge tomorrow, I could go hooray home. Yeah, if I had one. I dreaded imagining my apartment now. Weird too that no cops showed for the office rampage, or even a shrink, considering what I'd done. Not just me, though lesser. Maybe Paul Viktorovich had reasons not to report, even with the wreck. All day I lay low, leaving bed only for meals. Evening, the duty nurse entered. Gave my turbaned head a long look and said a woman was asking for me on the phone, probably Mom. How would Mom know where I am? Maybe Victor told her. If not Mom, perhaps my ex-wife. No reason for her, but who knows? Maybe she thinks I'm dying. She's a good person, even ex. Tanya would have cheered my death, no complexes there. I thought, shuffling down the hall after the nurse. Tanya wished me dead plenty. I always feared saying it back. Except the last time. The nurse handed me the receiver. I leaned to the dull plastic surface. Clean, just scratched. Took it, pressed to my ear. Hello. Barely rasping now. But speaking strained. Light electric wind whistled in the line, soft clicks. I repeated hello. For a while, just noise. Then distant sounds, like women's laughter. I said hello a third time. Someone laughed clearly now, responding but wordless. Who is this? I knew it wasn't Jenny, my ex. She laughed different. Mom wouldn't laugh at hello. Iron psyche. When Dad died, she showed no grief, though she loved him forever. The laugh was unfamiliar. Sort of. Hanging up, I bluffed. Clicks grew louder, echoing nasty sounds. Sorry, wrong number, a woman's voice said, barely holding laughter. My knees went weak. Tanya. Why'd I say that? No idea. But she burst out laughing, high-pitched, whining to herself, throat clicking. Laughter shifted to confident howling. More of that vile, click-click. I couldn't hang up. Head throbbed unbearably. Left brow under bandage pulsed painfully. Desperate to smash the phone and run. But where? Nothing now but hospital pajamas, wooden slippers, bag of oranges and apples Olivia brought visiting hours. Maybe not wrong number, the choking howl voice said. Howl rising. My jaw shook. Why won't you just die? I said into the receiver, genuinely surprised. Bit my tongue, literally, to blood. Sharp pain snapped me clear. I yanked the receiver away. For a second, translucent black hair seemed to stream from it. The old Soviet phone howled so loud the duty nurse looked up, staring in open horror. What is that? She whispered. Line trouble, I said, shaking my head. Talking hurt, jaws locked. I dropped the receiver on the hook and slid slowly down the wall. Into blessed dark and quiet. Unconsciousness. But no long rest. Ammonia cotton snapped me back. I wasn't thrilled. Reality, dark, bleak, dead ends everywhere. I breathed bug-eyed for minutes, settled by the nurse on a sagging couch. Night staff napped there. Called Victor. Through endless evil. Maybe furious. He clearly didn't want to talk. But he'd have to deal, I had no one else. It's me. Came out rough. I cleared my throat, tried again. It's me. Oh, Max. Victor softened. Why aren't you sleeping, sicko? Soon. Why so mad? I glanced at the nurse with my good eye. She poked her tablet, warily eyeing me. Listen, home phone's ringing all day. Who is it? No one answers. Just laughter. Stupid noises, driving me nuts. I swallowed hard. Yeah, pranksters, I blurted, switching topics fast. Victor, can you pick me up tomorrow? I faltered. Tomorrow? Let's make it tomorrow, huh? He wasn't happy. Dude, honestly, wiped out. No sleep, worked all day, you get it. Yeah, okay. My sigh trembled, like I'd cry. I wouldn't mind, but nerves aren't steel. Just, grab my cell right now. Don't remember where I put it. Seriously, tomorrow. No, now, turn it off. Pull the battery and sim. Why? Victor was tired of talking. Me too. You're not telling me everything. What's going on in your life? Total shit, plain and simple. Happens to everyone, I said, believing none of my casual tone. I'll explain, just do it. Done, just now. I really heard plastic tapping wood. Laying phone parts on windowsill or table. Thanks. When I hang up, unplug the landline or you won't sleep. You sure it's just kids messing around? Kinda. Yeah, I said, thinking no. See you tomorrow. Soon as I'm free. Anytime, I cut in calmly and hung up. The nurse eyed me skeptically. Everything okay? Yeah, I lied, meaning no. I shuffled to the ward. Roommates snored in harmony, sleep lost appeal. I sat on the bed, stared at the moon, thought of my sister. Tanya. Wouldn't, believe she could harm me, irrevocably dead. These days I'd seen plenty shit. But refused her paranormal nature. Leaning toward my own head mess, no ties to afterlife or whatever. Hospital's calm gloom grew on me. Psych ward might suit better, who knows. Sadness hit. I cried, desperately trying to recall my sister's face. Nothing worked. The moon had vanished somewhere, so I lay down, hugged myself, and passed out. I woke to someone touching my lips. Still half in a not-so-happy childhood dream, I tried swatting away, but foreign fingers touched my mouth again. Now intent on prying in. Trying to force my teeth apart. I jerked back, nearly tumbling off the bed, and opened my eyes. The ward was dark, but I made out a figure hovering over me. The duty nurse. She wasn't looking at me, her profile clear, nose slightly upturned. With her right hand, she stroked my cheek. But something off about it, like stroking with a borrowed hand hidden in her sleeve. You have a visitor, the duty nurse said. Who now? I asked dumbly, slowly sitting up and backing to the wall. No, yesterday, she said. Only sleepwalking. That sweet nonsense in my life would end abruptly. If this was the disguised filth, I'd never hit it once. That scum. No idea what reaction to expect. Might tear me to shreds in seconds. Might flush me down the pipe. Straight through grief and endless toothache. Or nothing. Just a broken chair. We left the ward. She went ahead. Suddenly the dark corridor. No lights. Only distant random glints let me navigate the thickened shadows. I stopped. Hated this. Noticed her steps silent, like barefoot. She turned to me. A faint edge of light from a hall window, maybe passing car headlights, fell on her face. She faced me but looked past, down and left. I remembered Mary. And realized that wasn't Mary at all. What, tired? The nurse mocked. Coming or what? Where are you taking me? I thought, knees buckling. No, why panic early? Maybe I'm scaring myself. Who knows what she's like? I know nothing about her except she likes tea and poking her tablet. Deeper calming with wildly insane arguments. Animals to slaughter probably think positive too, ignoring bloody hooks. How would I know? I've never been to one. You will be now, my honest inner voice squeaked helpfully. Come on, she whispered, beckoning with a hand. Jerkily, like a tipsy teen. Turned and walked ahead. I followed. Passing the desk, I reflexively glanced, and jolted so hard I nearly fell. The real duty nurse slept curled on the couch where I'd gasped earlier. Or not sleeping, just still, because. No, don't think it. I looked after the fake nurse. She shuffled down the hall, twitching oddly. Nervous tick. Sure. I slipped out of my slippers and tiptoed silent to the couch sleeper. What if this one's fake too? From the corridor, lone click. I nearly jumped, legs gave. My hand shot forward like a trembling cobra. Slapping bare feet on concrete, I went, then ran, throat clicking, wheezing. Dropped to knees, lunged at the sleeper, shook her shoulders, screaming wild and incoherent like a shot bird. It was running full speed toward us. I wanted to drag the body off the couch. Use it as shield, she wouldn't wake. Yeah, coward, but if dead, she doesn't care. Get off. The real nurse woke, shoved me, sat up sharp. I fell back, cracked my head on a chair leg, but no one burst in. With whining laughter, the fake ran the other way. Click click click. When quiet, corridor lights flickered off randomly, weakly buzzing and clicking. You turn off the lights, the nurse asked, glaring irritated, total distrust, eyes locked on mine. Dumb question. No, I answered honestly, not that I know. Then who? She kept staring. I shrugged awkwardly. Dark circles under her eyes. Thought. You okay? No, I started, but changed. Yeah, head hurts, pill. Needless to say, no more sleep that night. Sat twitching my knee on the sagging couch, waiting for morning. Refused the ward, might doze off. She glowered, I kept her awake. She poked the tablet weakly. Finally offered tea. I accepted. Victor arrived early, around 8. Wearily handed bags of clothes, sat on a chair. Waited while I pulled on his old stuff. Discharged, ordered clinic for dressing change, no reading or phone till week's end. Walking the corridor past the desk to elevators with Victor, I slowed, trying to eye the night nurse with my good eye, but strangers there now. Disappointing. Probably went home, cursing me every bad word. Or not. Seemed nice. She'd shoved my hopelessly filthy clothes bag into my chest earlier. Barely caught it. Riding to Victor's, I resolved. Running from this filth till death, not far, given constant terror. Can't outrun it anyway. Doubt it can really harm me. I harm myself with stunning zeal. Even if this nastiness is my fevered brain. Must deal somehow. How? Jump off a roof? I want to live. Sister carved herself out with a jigsaw. No one better for it. No, not to Victor's. Don't drag him in. He has family, no kids yet, but doesn't mean none coming. Why ruin wonderful people, including future ones? Victor, don't take offense. I patted his shoulder. Almost there, had to act before relaxing. What now? He whined. Home. Lend cash, okay. Idiot. Let things settle first, then home. Lend cash, okay. Idiot. Settle first, then home. Don't need to bury you, get it? Don't know what you've dreamed up, but wrong. Just bad luck streak. Which you scratched your face funny over, huh? Victor breathed fast, nostrils flaring. Gonna blow. You're pissing me off with secrets, got it? What kind of person? Lousy, selfish introvert. Victor was used to me never spilling right away. But sometimes it infuriated inhumanly. I'd tell you. No way, not happening. Though Victor silently drove to his courtyard. No rush. Turned and left. Sure. He asked, calmer. Worth it with those injuries? He looked sadly. Yeah, much better already, I said, starting to believe it. As you say, Victor sighed. We rode silent a while. Then, who beat you? No one, I fell, I answered, technically true. He dropped me near home, sped to work, somewhat annoyed. I walked the trampled snow path, eyeing his slightly big boots. Gotta return them. The trivial thought oddly boosted confidence. I walked faster. Door locked. Yes, key. I rummaged the bag, mixing dirty clothes for the keys. Found at bottom. Tore a hole, nearly fell out, dangling on one stuck key. Lock crunched sand when turning. Thought it'd be worse. No secret order I'd hoped for. Same mess, daylight making it nightmarish. But not worse. Felt empty, long abandoned. I paced across the sticky floor to the bedroom. Thought about opening the window but changed my mind. I listened. Absolute silence. The kind when you're truly alone at home. You always hear or sense another person. I sensed nothing. Just faint unease and discomfort. But definitely no one else in the apartment. I'd bet my teeth. Come on out already. I said, back to the smeared window, leaning on the sill. And it came out. Just walked through the door, from the kitchen, I realized. Utterly silent. I gripped the greasy sill, feeling stiff foreign hair squish under my fingers. I started shaking. Didn't expect that twist. Wanted to run, but not past this thing. It stopped 2 meters away. Like an old woman and little girl at once. In a torn nightshirt, grease-stained with sparse strands stuck to it. It stood staring at a point behind me. Looking closer, I saw a rope in its right hand, and on the rope something black and elongated, barely off the floor. Damn, a dog, dead a long time. Damn, a dog, dead a long time. Mocking me, the dead dog jerked its head. Awkwardly sat on its haunches. Couldn't make out the eye. You're not my sister, I said, keeping the horrific pair in sight. No. The voice wasn't female, nor male, certainly not childlike. Then what do you want from me? I asked. That clicking sound again. For you to come with me. The dog tried scratching its ear and fell on its side. Got up, side labored, lay down stretching front paws, head on them. How cute, motherfucker. Where? Home. But I'm already home, I replied, smirking despite myself. Then the creature looked me in the eyes. Cheerfully, terrifyingly so. Come on. It tilted its head left, then threw it back, baring its neck. The dog yawned, black tongue lolling. Where do you live? I asked with my last strength, fighting blackout. Home. Obviously. I coughed, clearing my throat. Voice hoarse. I live at home too. But you don't live here. Why come to me? Because you forgot to lock the door. It nearly shouted, laughter bursting through. Suddenly hurled the dog at me. Instinctively thrust hands forward, but caught only a bundle of filthy cloves, sour and sharp. Whining, I shoved the rope-tied rags away. No. I screamed, terrified it'd charge. But it didn't. Filth. What am I doing? I ran after it. As fast as possible. Caught up. Jabbed its disgusting yielding back. Its head snapped back. Hair rained on me. Then it started falling apart. Dirty cloth chunks hit the floor. Scattered hairs. Yellowed sticks, weight, bones. Seemingly. But not all. Humans have more. When the last hairs fell, I rasped, trying to calm my pounding chest. You're the filth, miserable slob. I cried. Tension eased. I stood by the rag pile, poked it with my boot toe. Wanted to see bones, but none. Just greasy streaks on the floor. Beyond repair. I bagged the remnants of my otherworldly slob, still scared to touch, and took to the dumpster. They vanished gradually, like melting. After the trip, gone completely. I scrubbed with warm water and detergent everything that would clean. Even the nailed wallpaper, they're washable. Slept in clothes on the bare mattress. No one woke me. Morning, I packed a bag and headed to the station. Card, washed too, had just enough for a ticket. Didn't know if Tanya was buried yet, but Mom was alone now without her. Right after I kicked her out for the constant mess at my place, my sister went to Mom's. Where else? The whole trip I stared out the window. Sometimes seemed someone ran barefoot through snow between trees, black rag on a leash. But could anyone run that fast?